Hello, my amazing students. Um, Welcome to chapter 4. If you can believe it, we are just chugging right along. So let's hop in. Chapter 4 is about consciousness. And as you know from the book, consciousness is kind of an awareness of everything that's going on within us and everything that's going on around us at any given moment. But I guess to be more honest, this chapter is dealing more with altered states of consciousness, which is, when we have a shift in the quality or pattern of our mental activity. And this chapter covers a lot of different examples of altered states of consciousness. As always, there's no way that I can do this chapter justice in a short video, but I am going to highlight some of what I think are the main points of the chapter, and then I will leave it to you to read and process the rest. So, I think we can all understand and have probably all experienced different altered states of consciousness. This could be as simple as daydreaming. Maybe some of us engage in meditative practices. Maybe some of us have spent some time under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Whatever the case, most of us have probably experienced an altered state of consciousness. I don't know if any of you have ever had this experience, but sometimes I'll be driving along on a familiar route, and I will, realize that I'm almost to my destination, and I really will have no idea how I got there, which is just super interesting. But obviously, I am in some kind of altered state of consciousness where, there is this automatic process that takes over. Because my brain knows the path to where I'm going. It's a familiar route. And so my body kind of goes into that automatic, kind of overdrive. But mentally, have been somewhere else. And so I think even if you haven't had that experience, I think that you have probably heard about it, kind of understand, that concept. One of the things I want to spend quite a bit of time on is talking about sleep. Sleep is just such an integral part of our physical health, our mental health, our psychological, emotional functioning. It's just so important for so many different areas of our daily functioning. The book talks about, kind of what they would recommend as kind of the minimum, sleep commitment per day. They say 7 to 9 hours. And without that, there is some danger of sleep deprivation and everything that goes along with that. The book also talks about the stages of sleep, which I think are really interesting. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, but for any of you who are going into that field, who are just interested in sleep, those stages of sleep are very, very fascinating. They give a lot of information about what our brain and body are doing during different stages of sleep and why some of them are so important. The book also talks about sleep disorders, nightmares, night terror, sleepwalking, insomnia. These are all the things that can happen when sleep is not occurring the way that it should. And some of you may have experienced some of these things. I think most of us have probably had a nightmare, and we know how that can impact sleep, especially if it wakes us up. It can be really disorienting. It can also make it really difficult to go back to sleep. So those are all things that are important to understand as we are studying more about consciousness and altered states of consciousness. So I want to take a couple minutes here to really focus on what I hope will be kind of a practical takeaway from this chapter. As a therapist, these are the things that I get kind of excited about. The idea that there are things in these chapters that you can take with you, that you can implement in your life, that can help. Things that you can implement right away that can start to improve your quality of life. And I think the good sleep steps that are listed in your book are just a really fantastic takeaway, something that I think that all of us could probably do a better job of implementing, or at least I could do a better job of implementing. So let's walk through those. I think at their core, good sleep steps are really about ensuring that we are getting good sleep, that we are getting enough sleep so that we can experience optimal physical and mental health. And so as we're walking through those steps, step one, go to bed when you're sleepy. If you're not tired, then find an activity, something that you can engage in that's kind of a wind down. That could be, reading a book or engaging in some meditation. Whatever you do, make sure that it's non-stimulating. But when you are tired, make sure that you go to bed. Sometimes we can push our body, but really that is our body's way of saying that it needs sleep. So let's get better at listening to our bodies when it tells us that it is time. So go to bed when you're sleepy. Number two, engage in sleeping activities when you're in bed. This is a lot about conditioning. If we start to use our bed for things other than sleeping, such as homework, social media, I don't know, jumping up and down, whatever it is that we are using our bed for that is not sleep, can really interfere with our body's ability to recognize the bed as a place for sleeping and to start to create some habits around that. So as you understand from previous chapters about conditioning, and we'll learn more about in upcoming chapters, conditioning is a lot about doing consistent things so that your body can anticipate what it needs to do at any given time. And so use your bed for sleeping. Number three, if you're tired and having a hard time sleeping, sometimes it can be really tempting to keep checking your clock, to keep grabbing your phone to see how much time has passed. I totally get that. However, checking and rechecking the time creates more anxiety. And guess what? Anxiety impedes sleep. So instead of checking and rechecking the time, I would encourage you to engage in some kind of activity that is aimed at helping your brain wind down. So that might be, counting sheep. It may be counting backwards from 100. It may be doing some kind of alphabet mental game where you think of an animal for each letter of the alphabet. Just something to help your brain wind down and give it something to do without creating anxiety. So, number four, keep a regular sleep schedule. Again, this goes back to the conditioning piece of sleep. If your body is used to going to bed at 10 p.m. every night and waking up at 7 a.m. every morning, and that is the routine that you get into, 10 p.m. every night, 7 a.m. every morning, 10 p.m. every night, 7 a.m. every morning. Over time, that is what your body begins to anticipate, and it creates good habits. So keep a regular sleep schedule so that you can set your body clock and your body can anticipate when it is time to sleep. Don't take sleeping pills or drink alcohol to sleep. It can create a dependency over time, which can be really difficult to break later on. And so if you can sleep without sleep aids, that is best case scenario. Also, number 6, make sure that you're getting some exercise every day. This is really helpful in all of this, in preparing your body for sleep, in ensuring that it is ready when it is time to sleep. Exercise is just a really important part of this whole complex process. I will give a caution though. Exercising right before bed can hinder sleep because of all of the chemicals that are being created in the brain when you exercise, which are all good chemicals unless you're trying to go to sleep. So I would recommend some form of exercise every day, but not within 2 to 3 hours of sleep. I'm sure as I'm going through this list, maybe we're all realizing that we could do a better job of implementing some of these things. I know I could definitely do a better job. And just realizing that sleep affects everything, every part of our lives. And, you know, some of us can get a little bit difficult to deal with when we don't get the right amount of sleep. You know who you are. And I am the same. Mama needs her sleep. So if you know that not getting enough sleep really negatively impacts you, then this information is all the more pertinent. So if you need permission to get those Z's, permission granted, okay? And here's a note for all of you who can sleep anytime, anywhere, any circumstances. Congratulations. I used to be in that club, and a little warning, as you get older, that can definitely change. So all of these good sleep habits are still for you. I would say start creating those habits now, but alternatively, tuck these away for later. Most of us will need them at some point in our process. So let's transition to talking about dreams a little bit. Dreams, this whole part of the field can be really fascinating. I think people are tempted to maybe attribute more significance than is warranted. However, I get it. It is a very tantalizing topic. And so, yeah, I mean, there is a lot of discussion within the field about the significance of dreams. There are people who specialize in dream interpretation. Certainly, I've spent some time studying that. It is really fascinating. I haven't seen it be as easy to implement as maybe some others have, and so I don't use dream interpretation in my practice, but that doesn't stop me from thinking that it is really interesting. And Freud, as you know from the book, put a lot of stock on dreams. He thought this was our body's way of making sense of our unconscious, suppressed feelings. And he felt very strongly about that. And he also really thought that a lot of dreams were about our wish fulfillment. So dreams were about creating some kind of outcome that was desirable, that maybe was elusive in real life. Right? So, so he put a lot of stock in dreams. He thought they were incredibly significant. Some more modern schools of thought would say, they would say, listen, here's the deal. There are pawns in our brain that are sending messages all the time. So during waking consciousness, these are attached to external stimuli, and they are made sense in that way, right? So all of these messages that are being sent have an external stimuli to attach to, and so we are able to make sense of those messages. When we're asleep, obviously those external stimuli are removed, but the pawns keep sending messages. And so, since they don't have an external stimuli to attach to, the brain attempts to utilize stored information, i.e., our unconscious, to interpret the messages. And I have to tell you that when I think about how random and bizarre my dreams are sometimes, this resonates a lot more with me. And so I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about this whole dreams thing? You think Freud was onto something? Do you find that there is a working out of your unconscious, that there is a wish fulfillment aspect to most of your dreams? Or are you more like me? Do your dreams seem completely bizarre and without any kind of meaning? Except maybe that you're, a loon. So let me know in your comments. Let me know, what do you think about dreams? What do you think about their significance? What's your experience? I did think it was interesting. The book talked a little bit about the themes of dreams depending on culture. And I think that's really interesting that our culture would impact the content of our dreams. I guess it makes a lot of sense when you think about how significant cultural influences are to us as people. I did think it was a little unfortunate that Americans tend to have more aggressive dreams because we live in a more aggressive culture. But nonetheless, cultural significance of dreams is definitely worth noting. The book goes on to talk about hypnosis and meditation, which honestly, I don't know if you know this, but these are like really hot topics in the field of psychology right now. We are talking a lot about hypnosis and meditation. I get invited to a lot of different conferences, and hypnosis and meditation, they are at the forefront. I get invitations for conferences and trainings on hypnosis and meditation at least a few times a week. So really, really popular right now. That said, there is certainly disagreement within the field about their significance and their applicability to clients. And when you look at the research, it seems a little bit mixed. And so the book does a good job of taking a pretty neutral stance. And I tend to agree with the book's stance. I think hypnosis and meditation, when utilized appropriately, can be great tools for relaxation. The book, kind of compares them to, reading a book or taking a warm bath. And I see that. I understand that. I engage in some of my own meditation practices, and I would definitely say that that is true of my experience, that a warm bath or a 20-minute, meditation session or reading an enjoyable book, they all tend to have, similar impact. And I would go on to say that I don't see hypnosis and meditation solving client issues. I see them helping clients cope with issues, which is incredibly important. So there is definitely a place for such things. It's just a matter of, how much significance you place. So again, what do you think? Hypnosis and meditation? Well, you'll have a chance to talk more about that on the discussion board this week. That is your discussion board topic. So I'm looking forward to reading your ideas, especially in the context of this chapter and your reading. Let's transition to spending a few moments talking about psychoactive drugs. Obviously, the book does a good job of covering this and also providing an adequate amount of caution in regards to using psychoactive drugs, and I think that's warranted. The book talks about the dangers of drug use, including dependence, both physical and psychological. Dependence can lead to lifelong patterns of drug abuse, and so it's really important that we be aware of that. With physical dependence, the body craves the drug and becomes, unable to function without it. And when we try to stop, we experience something called withdrawal, which can be excruciating, both mentally, psychologically, physiologically. Psychological dependence is more about our belief that we cannot function without the drug, and it can have really similar outcomes when we try to stop. The book talks about 3 specific drugs in this chapter: stimulants, which activate the central nervous system, depressants, which slow the central nervous system, and hallucinogens, which alter the brain's interpretation and sensations. So, within the realm of stimulants, we have amphetamines, cocaine, also nicotine and caffeine. Depressants, we have barbiturates, benzodiazepines, which some people have heard referred to as benzos. We also have alcohol, opiates, morphine, heroin. Within the realm of hallucinogens, we have LSD, PCP, Molly, Ecstasy X, marijuana. And so I think it's important that we understand how these drugs affect us. I think awareness is a big part of understanding psychoactive drugs. Awareness is really important. I think, the book does a good job of acknowledging that some drugs have been normalized by our society. Caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, now marijuana. But it's important to remember that even those drugs which we have normalized and accepted have their own inherent dangers. And so, I'm not trying to be a dare advertisement, but please let me take this moment to say that all drugs interfere with our thinking and decision making. And it's important that we realize their psychological and physiological implications, and that we make decisions accordingly. So I will leave you with that. So again, this chapter has so much great information. I have just kind of skimmed the surface. But thank you for sticking with me. It's been such a joy getting to know you all more through your contributions. You're just fantastic. I loved last week just reading everyone's memories about grandparents specifically. It was just delightful. So thank you for all of you that are engaging with the videos and with the class, with the discussion board. Yeah, it's been really fun. So thank you for that. Also, just a reminder, this week you do have obviously this video. Please remember to comment and include your course number. Also in the video, you'll notice that I've asked a couple of questions. Please make sure that your contributions include some interaction with those questions posed, in addition to whatever else you want to add. So video comments are due for Chapter 4. You have a discussion board topic that's due for Chapter 4. You also have your quiz for Chapter 4. There is no written assignment for this week. So if you have some assignments that you're behind on, this would be a great opportunity to get caught up, because next week is our first exam. So take some time this week to delve into Chapter 4 and to get all of the coursework done, and then maybe spend some time starting to prepare for a Chapter 1 exam, which will be a week from Friday. So I will be posting more information about that, but just wanted to get it on your radar. As always, thank you. And it's such a joy and I will talk to you again soon. Okay, have a good one. Happy Monday.